Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It is Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan, and it is the week that every Eagles fan normally gets excited about, but this week maybe not so much. Adam, I know it's always a big week for you with all your national scoops that you get, but
I got a headache
new
already.
league year. I know, right? Already.
The
new league year.
Yep.
The new league year begins Wednesday, right?
Yep.
So do they still do the free tampering period on Monday?
Yeah, so today, at 12 p.m. Eastern, if you're listening to us at 6 a.m. Eastern on Monday, they have what's called the open negotiating period, or for the layman, the tampering period, the anti-tampering period. So basically what it is let's say you have a player, right? Because this is an Eagle show. Let's say you're an agent who has somebody on another team. Well, you could talk to Howie Roseman, the Eagles GM, or any of their personnel people, 12 o'clock, and it's okay to do it. Now, agents can do whatever the hell they want. They can't get in trouble, but teams can. Couple, 3 to 5 times teams have gotten caught over the years for tampering. We know the Eagles one was actually the Chiefs. Was the Jeremy Maclin with the Chiefs? Eagles? What was that one?
It was. I forgot about that. Good reminder. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, good reminder on that. I forgot.
Yeah.
I'm usually the one who remembers the minutia, but you got this
right,
one. Right,
exactly. That one was so surprising when it happened. Like, where the hell? I remember getting it was never really reported. They actually, I don't know how the league found out, but no one scooped that one. Just the league announced it, and I got the press release. I'm like, okay, what the hell? It blindsided me. Like, whoa, what happened here? Kind of thing. So I did one with Alex Marvez when Alex and I worked for Fox Sports. The Lions tampered with the Chiefs, and we had a good scoop. The Lions wound up losing a 7th round pick, but what happened is Gunther Cunningham, the DC of the Lions, then was he the head coach of the Lions? I can't remember. Anyway, he talked about Derek Johnson about I'm going to keep an eye on him or something like that, which you can't do.
Didn't he come from the Chiefs? Wasn't he with the Chiefs?
Yes,
before?
He was the former head coach. Yeah, and they were not happy. Believe me, they were not happy because Derek Johnson's contract would be up. Can't be doing that. Yeah, you just say can't talk about him. That's all you had to say. Anyway, so we got that coming up, but folks, I'm warning you. Very few good players will be left over on Wednesday. They're going to go off. They're going to go off, and you're going to see a lot of people. The reporters are going to put out, including myself, barring a snag in negotiations on Monday or Tuesday. This player X will sign with this team on Wednesday, something like that. That's this open negotiating period. It's going to go off like gangbusters at 12 p.m. Eastern on Monday, and that's how it starts.
Now, this pod people will listen to mostly on Monday, a little bit Tuesday. The officializing is Wednesday, but as you said, there will be plenty of quote unquote deals agreed to while people are listening to this. But I think, first of all, you were correct last week when you said it was kind of overstated that there would be either an Eagles bloodbath or even an NFL-wide bloodbath. Because as we sit here, recording this podcast, there really has not been. What has happened is everybody's jumped into the restructure vote.
Oh my God!
So,
I can't keep up with it. It's unbelievable.
I mean, it really is crazy. Some of the Taysom Hill one.
I'm sorry. One thing, there might be 80 or 90 contracts done over the 24-hour period.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to so many personnel people like, I can't talk because we're in a meeting. We're trying to figure out which guy we're getting done this week with the restructure. I'm like, what? And I understand it, Geoff. The reason why I said what I said last week was this. Teams will do all they can not to cut a player they want.
Mm-hmm.
And I know from being wrong over the years on this stuff, there's no way they're keeping this guy. And they wind up keeping the guy because they restructure. So moving this forward here to the Eagles, on our show Inside the Birds. If you're new to us, we appreciate your patronage. The Eagles just simply are not going to do it. They did not cut anyone so far they wanted. And they're not, and the guys are going to be cutting, they didn't want.
Yeah, I still wonder if Malik would be coming back if there were $30 million.
You and I debate that.
Why wouldn't you? He's a good player. He's a good rotational tackle.
30. He's 30
cheaper
now,
at the third end, at the third year of his deal. Yeah,
right. When you look at his situation, it's like if you look at the 50 or 60 players were cut last week around the National Football League, The only player that I saw under 30 was Quentin Jefferson of the Bills, who got 1 year. Only got 1 year in. They cut him. He got $6 million. He's 27 years old. I was like, why would you cut this guy?
How old's Van Noy?
Van Noy's 32.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's been a while. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And he made 12 and a half. And here's another thing that I'm noticing. Teams with 30 million in cap space, 30, 40 million are just cutting. They just don't want the players. Like the Dolphins are 30 million under without cutting Van Noy.
Right.
Didn't want him. Simple as that.
They don't. Yeah. So it's not the bloodbath. Although I got to laugh. I've already seen the false equivalences to the Eagles situation. For example, I've seen a couple of times people say, "Oh, so the two Super Bowl teams, the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, can do restructures, but when the Eagles do it, it's such a bad thing." But that's such a false equivalence. I mean, the Chiefs are restructuring the contract of a quarterback who's going to play 12, 13, 14, 15 more years. You know, Darius Slay is not going to play 12 more years. Brandon Brooks is not going to play 12 more years. I mean, everybody that they restructured is not going to play 12 more. It's totally different when you're doing it for a 30, 31, 32-year-old player as opposed to a 20-year-old player who happens to be the best player in the league. And even Brady's restructure is not it's not going to kick so much money because he took a pay cut just to go there. So it's really not an equivalence. And again, I'm not killing the Eagles for doing what they do. We've already gone through the pros and cons of it. I mean, they're in many ways, Howie Roseman didn't have any other choices but to do what he's doing. But it does put them in a dangerous situation.
Well, hang on. I would argue in one way.
Mm-hmm.
They could have said, you know what? We're cleaning the slate. We're going to be super young, and we're going to eat 60 million in dead money. We're just going to be young.
But how could they have gotten under the cap if they did that? Because that money accelerates.
Let's say, for argument's sake, they could do that. Okay.
Uh-huh.
You then have a problem in this town. You cannot not be competitive. Like you can't. Like last year, they weren't. They were 4-11-1. They're not going through something like that again. Where they still want to keep a competitive team while they try to retool this team. Kind of the transition period where they're going to get younger with 10 draft picks. If they're able to actually have a great draft with these older players, are going to have to hang around for a couple of years. Yes, they could be. This is 2021. They could be a playoff team in 23. That's only if they draft well. But as you said, Geoff, and you're absolutely right, if these older players like Lane Johnson keep breaking down and the other older players that they keep restructuring, this is you can't do this because then these bills come due. This credit card spending crushes you. For those of you who are new to our show, Geoff and I did what we called a dummy restructure show. We spent one show in the spring last year because we were alarmed at the amount of them. Where we went through every Eagle veteran contract and the voidable years, you know, the contract ends, but there's no money, but there's bonus proration for years after the contract ends. There are a lot of, we didn't know at the time going into it, but we knew coming out, there were a ton of them. And now you add even more, and we're going to go over those in this show.
Yeah, and just real quick to explain, if the Eagles had cut Darius Slay, who is on the books, I think you said for about prior to the restructure, I think he had a cap number of 15 million this year, something in that neighborhood.
I don't remember. Right? Yeah.
Well, whatever cutting him was, it would have accelerated that money in future years into this year. So it would have been a higher number, meaning they're not saving money this year by cutting him. They're taking on more money. So they couldn't really have done a mass cutting unless, Adam, they did a restructure with the intent to cut, right? Where they push that money down the road, but still cut this year and have it accelerate in other years, which I'm not even sure is possible. So, I mean,
well, no, but with Slay, his $12 million base salary is fully guaranteed anyway.
Right.
So they couldn't cut him anyway. There was never.
Well, that was my point. Yeah.
And like with Brandon Brooks, you know, they already owed him $10 million, was fully guaranteed on the salary. So they said, okay, you're going to get it anyway. So let's just restructure, take your bonus, put in a signing bonus, and he's going to have dummy years. It's funny because I was talking to a NFLPA source. They're getting a massive amount of, probably a record number. I'd love to know this just to get me to laugh, because it was stressful. Sunday was pretty stressful for me, just making these calls, and I wasn't getting anywhere with a lot of these teams in that because they're restructuring so many contracts. I wonder how many contracts were sent in from teams with restructure language, whatever, the dummy years. I bet you there's a couple hundred. Not a little.
God.
But probably no. I'm joking. 50 to 75.
Still, that's a lot. Yeah.
No, 50 to 75. I guarantee you over 24 period from around the National Football League easily. Bears, Eagles, Saints, Chiefs, Rams are right up there. This has been pretty remarkable what teams are doing, but they are going to spend, these teams. A lot of these teams are, and by the way, and we'll get into that, I'm going to surprise some people with some information I have on the Eagles contracts. One really surprised me. I never saw this one coming in terms of what they were willing to do.
Right.
One of these guys, well, again, it comes down to the point. They're not walking away from, they're not cutting players they want. That's just the way it is.
There you go. All right. We are going to get into Eagles free agency, get into some of the restructuring that they've done. We'll talk a whole lot, about a time period that's usually for the Eagles very exciting, but this year is going to be a little tampered down, no pun intended, because of their financial situation. So interestingly enough, just to let our listeners know that the next Q&A will drop, as it always has been doing, on Wednesday morning, 6 a.m. And Quentin and Jason are going to talk about their own free agent experiences and what it's like when you're a player and everything you're going through when you're in free agency. And it's going to be special because both of them have very unique free agent experiences. Quentin Michael was one of the first guys to sign coming out of the lockout. So he didn't have an opportunity to visit teams. And he signed a big deal. We'll talk about that. Yeah. But his situation was unique. And Jason Avant, if you remember, Adam, in 2013 was cut, but after the first year with Chip Kelly, if you remember, Chip Kelly tried to turn him into a nickel cornerback. If you remember that, he tried.
Oh my God!
In OTAs, he tried to convert him to being a nickel.
That. Did
he? Yeah. And then obviously
Troy Brown.
I know. Chip played a lot more. Yes, it's exactly what Chip had in mind. Jason did not have that in mind, so it wasn't. But Jason wound up being a wide receiver. But if you remember, Zach Ertz was drafted that year. Chip played a lot more 12 personnel with Selleck and Ertz. And so Jason came off the field on a lot of third downs in the slot where he normally, made his money with Andy Reid. So he was released after the year, and then he went to Carolina, and then he got traded that year to Kansas City. So he went from Ron Rivera to Andy Reid again. So they have really unique, interesting experiences as free agents. So they're going to talk all about that. And then they'll also get into a little bit of, Jalen Mills, an Eagle, who's going to be free agent, and some of the other guys.
Quentin Michael, because Spags was the head coach, got the top of the market safety money. I couldn't believe it what Q got.
He got big money.
Back then, it might have been $7 million a year back in 11. Was it 2011? Coming out of the lockout?
2011. I think it was that, and like 11 guaranteed. It was.
I remember doing reporting on it. I'm like, this can't be right. I'm like, Quentin Michael. I mean, he's a good player, but god damn, it'd be good to be a free agent. Oh my God, I was like, this is unbelievable.
Shout out to Sports Stars for that one, right?
What's that?
Shout out to Sports Stars for that one.
Jason Shea did a great job. Yeah, he was the one. Q's agent, Jason Shea, was the one who challenged the Patriots with Deion Branch. Remember, the Patriots Deion Branch. They got in a brouhaha, and the Patriots challenged his agent. They actually gave him permission to seek a trade, and he found a team. It was the Seahawks. Right, got Deion out of there.
Right, cool. So also we're about 2 weeks away from unveiling our show Inside the Draft with Greg Cosell, which March 30th, I believe, will be the first one. So that'll drop too. We'll get right into draft coverage pretty much after free agency. And Tuesday night, you and I will be back for our third Ask ITB live stream, which has been we had some technical difficulties in the last one. Hopefully it'll be ironed out, but we're able to get to questions. And I have a feeling that night, Adam, Tuesday night, you're going to already hear about some contracts, and then there's going to be questions about other free agent signings.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome.
So it's going to
be
exciting.
Fact, I might break a story during the thing. Who knows?
Oh, that would be amazing.
Awesome. Many years ago, just complete luck. I was on with Rob Ellison, WIP. I put out 3 scoops on there. I did not plan it, but one of them, I remember someone retweeting it 2 years later. It was Bradley Fletcher and making fun of me. I'm like, come on, man, really? Like, are you really doing this? Like, it's
Yeah.
like, anyway, people crush Bradley Fletcher. Like, come on, man.
Well, he was a very nice guy, but he
Yeah,
was not very
he
good.
didn't play well.
Yeah, he didn't play.
But
Well, nobody
we'll
did.
see.
Nobody did in that defense, to be fair. Like nobody
Patrick
in the back
Chung.
end. Yeah.
Patrick Chung came over from the Patriots. Wasn't very good. Goes back. Very good for the Patriots. Still playing, by the way.
I know, amazingly enough. All right, let's get into some things. First of all, the quarterback wide receiver workouts have begun.
Oh yeah,
as I said they would last week.
Yes.
Yeah, they started Thursday. Originally, it was supposed to be Tuesday. A couple things happened. Started Thursday, so it's happening at the Exos facility in Frisco, Texas, about 30 miles north of Dallas. That whole Dallas metroplex area has exploded over the last 20, 30 years. So Jalen Hurts is there. Jalen Reagor's there. They're both Texas natives. I was told that Watkins was going to be there, and Hightower, I think Watkins was, and Hightower is going to be there soon if he's not already. So those guys are all expected to be there. On our last show, I think you mentioned that Fulgham had a minor procedure on the ankle,
Yes.
foot. So I don't think that
Ankle.
he's there. Ankle, correct. One thing I was told though, Adam, and this is pretty cool, is that, I mean, I don't know if you know much about the Exos facility, but it's a pretty popular training facility for college.
What were they called
athletes.
before that name? What were they called before that?
You know what? I knew it had another name, and I couldn't. It wasn't Gaines. I forget the name of it.
Athletics something. Athletics Performance or something, or
I think that was it. I think it was Athletics Performance. Yeah, AP. Right.
Yeah.
So now it's Exos. I was told that Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle are there training, and Devontae Smith. I think all three of those guys are also there training. And so, there's a lot of interaction going on. So I think that's pretty cool. Jalen Hurts maybe even throwing to them a little bit, and they may be getting to know Hurts and Reagor and the Eagles. And, obviously there's a lot of hype in this area. People would love to see the Eagles get Jamar Chase. So wouldn't it be cool if they were able to get him and he'd already kind of got a few throws in from Jalen? Hey, that's good stuff.
Let me tell you something. This may be the only work they get till August. We don't know yet what's going to happen in May and June. Ordinarily, I don't make a big deal I don't think these workouts matter much, but they sure as hell would in this case. Mm-hmm. Last year, certainly whatever work they got in the spring would help. Did Wentz hold the workouts last year? I forget. Did he
yes, in Houston, I believe.
Yes.
I think Wentz held them in Houston. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, absolutely. Anytime you can get with your starting quarterback, in this case, it's Jalen Hurts, and the young receivers who need the work, because he's got to know, okay, where do you want it? Where do you, okay, are you catching it like this? They got to learn each other. It's anytime you can get. I'm glad that they were able to do it. That's good. And Fulgham, unfortunately, Geoff. So you had on Fulgham's surgery on our last show. You said he had a bone spur.
I was told bone spur. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Which is, it takes a couple of weeks. It's nothing debilitating, but it needs its healing time.
Yeah, he had it in January, so it's going to be a couple months before he's ready to roll. So yeah, but I was told
what is it usually
fine.
Like 6 to 8 weeks? Is that like the
typical
recovery?
ankle surgery is around 8? Yeah, especially because he's a skill position player. But I was told he's good to go. It went really well, and I'm fascinated to see what the Eagles do at 6. I'm like everybody else. I can't wait till we get into our draft coverage with Greg Cosell, and we'll get Q and Q&A involved also, obviously, with their show, and we'll probably do some stuff with them. And usually, because the Eagles are typically, since we've done the show, a very good team, so the draft has not been that big of a deal. No, you obviously want them to draft better, but they have the 6th pick overall. They have 10 picks. This is a major draft for this football team.
It is. One thing that can help them, Adam, I don't know if you happen to check the Trey Lance Pro Day on NFL Network. I was watching it. Man, I have not seen a whole lot of Trey Lance. So after I watched the workout, I went and called a few people that I know who either were there or, know who have scouted him. In fact, it was reported that 2 Eagles reps were there, Shane Steichen and the quarterback coach, Brian Johnson. But I was told that Anthony Patch was also there. So technically they sent their maximum number of people that you're
Great.
allowed to send to a pro day. Now, I think it's telling, right, that Sirianni wasn't there and Howie wasn't there. So it's not like they sent their highest of the high of the team to go check this out, but it's, you know, they did send their QB coach and their offensive coordinator. So, you know, like you would look to see if Howie and Sirianni were there, you would make probably a bigger deal of it, I would think, if they were there.
I would say this. They the North Dakota State also has a pretty good offensive lineman.
Yeah, Radens.
Right. So I mean, I wouldn't go overboard with it, but the other thing is I know that they're going to see, I know that I'd heard that the Eagles are supposed to send one of the other quarterback outs, so the top guys. I think they're supposed to, I don't know if it's Zach Wilson or the kid from Ohio State. I know they're supposed to be there. Now, the question is, with our friend Chris Mortensen's report this past week, like you said, are they going to send, is Roseman going to go? Is the head coach going to go? Or are they going to send the quarterback coach or the coordinator? You know, I don't want to read too much into it. So to me, Geoff, I don't think they should pull back just because that report's out from Chris Mortensen. You still got to do your due diligence, okay?
Sure.
Now, I'm going to get back to Trey Lance. I talked to a couple of very high-ranking personnel sources with other teams who were there. The one thing they wanted to see with Trey Lance was, because he only had one game this season, it was awful. He just didn't play well. And Greg Cosell told me on Sirius that just throw that game out, go back to the 19 tape. His 19 tape's super intriguing. And the one thing you want to see, and we could say all we want about pro days are a joke, they're scripted and all this. You want to see how the guy spins it. How does the ball come out of the guy's hands? And he could spin it. And the other thing is, this one team that absolutely is in the market for a quarterback, and they sent their top guys to this workout. The kid came up to them, introduced himself, personable, and they the word in personnel circles, he's a great kid.
Yep.
They love that about him. Anytime you could get one-on-one interaction with a human being, it's great. You know?
Yep.
So
yes, I would say that he showed that he's got a power arm.
Yes, that's it.
He may have the best arm of the three. They all have pretty good arms, but he's got a power arm. And one personnel source I spoke to said that he thought his tape was better than he expected. Like he was anticipating one thing, because I don't think he watched a whole lot of ND State this year and then saw the tape. And so why I think that's relevant for the Eagles, Adam, is that we already know Lawrence is going to be the number one pick. And I think there's a pretty good shot that Wilson will go in the top 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to feel like this will benefit the Eagles, that both Fields and Trey Lance, or one of those two, will also go in the top 5, whether it's a trade up, you know, Miami moves back out or takes one. I don't know. But I think that that's going to help push the Chase Pitts contingent there down to get within reach. So for those who love Jamar Chase, I can see it being more realistic now, where I was not sure he would ever make it past Miami, right, 2-3 weeks ago, but you never know.
Well, Miami, look, I don't believe Miami will take a quarterback. I know that look, the stuff with Tua last season was crazy, how they benched him. That was, in fact, it would have been 3 times if Fitzpatrick was not on the COVID list for week 17. If you remember that he got, did Tua play terribly at Buffalo when they got blown out. But look, the Dolphins need a receiver. Okay, they need one opposite Devontae Parker, who, by the way, gets hurt a lot. Good player, but he gets hurt a lot. So we'll see what happens there. But look, these restructures, man, I lost count with the Eagles. It's just, it's amazing how many they did.
All right, hold that thought. We're going to get into some of I just wanted to finish up on that. The Hurts, the wide receiver workouts, and then just some of the intel that we got there on Trey Lance, who I just thought has a very impressive arm, and we'll see what happens with him. Let's pause right now and talk about our friends at PHLSportsNation.com, always enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all of our professional Philadelphia sports teams. Got to check them out. They are for the fan, by the fan. It's their motto. So if you really like their content, keep going. If you haven't seen it yet, go there now. It's PHLSportsNation.com, and you can find them on Twitter at PHLSportsNation. We will pause real quick for another word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, Adam. By the way, if you do go into Sky Motor Cars, make sure you tell them that Adam and Geoff sent you. You'll get a great deal. Let's talk about these restructures a little more because look, the Eagles have to be compliant by Wednesday. So I don't know if you have the exact number of where they're at, but we do know that there are a couple of more restructures that have gone on since our last pod.
Yeah. So Javon Hargrave restructured. They took about 11.75 million of his 12.5 base. Did what they normally do, like teams do. They converted to a signing bonus, 3 dummy years, which means he'll be a free agent. Still, the expiration of the real contract does not change. He's still a free agent after 22, but there's the 3 dummy years for proration purposes. So that got done. All those players who restructured, their contracts will end when they normally would. That's the way it works. They're not expanded past the original time frame. It's just that they've got those dummy years, no base salary, but proration for salary cap purposes. And hopefully, for the Eagles' sake, they don't have to cut these players because as Geoff said on our last show, God forbid they got to cut 4 or 5 players of the same year with all this stuff. Oh, would not be good with the acceleration in one season. So
yeah, that would be bad.
Bad. Issac Seumalo.
It's funny. Wait, real quick, because on Hargrave, we were saying last week that he would be so ideal for a restructure, but he might not want to because he wouldn't want to put money down the road and theoretically be under contract when he can be a free agent in 2 years. But as you're saying, they did it with the dummy year so that it guarantees that he is still a free agent or he gets an extension with the Eagles. But
all these guys, with rare exception, they're all dummy years around the National Football League. I haven't seen many where I looked at one contract. It didn't extend as far as I didn't get complete terms, but it didn't. There was something going on with this one contract. I couldn't figure it out. I had to ask. But generally, the way it works is dummy years are voidable years. They just go away, but the proration stays. And that's the way it works. Like they all go through the same thing. So Issac Seumalo, let's go to him. Now, Geoff and I talked about a week ago. For the life of me, I don't know why they want to extend his contract. He's just a good football player. But they decided to restructure, and they took his base was only $4 million. They took 3.1 of it, turned into a signing bonus, and they got the 3 dummy years on the back end, 23, 24, and 25. Then they also restructured Brandon Brooks. And I'll add one more I found out on Sunday. Jake Elliott, I'm told, they restructured his deal. I don't have the terms yet because it was based more or less completed. They just had the paperwork had to be sent in or whatever. But he's getting one as well, a restructuring.
I mean, all right, that's unbelievable. Jake Elliott gets a contract restructure. Name me one Eagle under contract for 2021 who isn't on a rookie deal that didn't have their contract restructured. I guess Lane Johnson.
This time around,
right?
you mean? This time around?
Yeah, this time around.
I got it.
Lane Johnson.
I got it.
Who?
Fletcher Cox.
Oh, that's right. And Lane, right? Because Lane's not.
Lane. My understanding as of Sunday night, Geoff, the Eagles, and we'll get into in our free agency rumor segment. Yeah, they're really confident that they're. I'll admit it. I'll admit I didn't think it would be this. I didn't think they'd look. Geoff and I did not know they were going to structure this mass amount of contracts. I'm not saying I expected anyone in particular to be cut. I just didn't think they could get it to the point that they've gotten it. But we didn't know they would restructure, as Geoff said, just about anyone who's anybody. I just didn't see that. I don't know. I'm very well. Brandon Graham, technically, they could if they wanted to.
They didn't restructure him? I thought they did.
Did they do him yet? Did they do him? I don't have his details yet. Maybe they did.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, a lot of you made a great point, and I think it's worth repeating. This was like 2 weeks ago. One is that the public, no matter what is reported out there, does not know the real cap number that teams are at, right? I mean, there's some Eagles reporters that are using websites and things, and some websites have good information, but nobody has comprehensively the numbers that are available. So
unless you get it from the team. Yeah.
right. And then plus if a team agrees to one, but then decides at the last minute that, oh, we don't have to do that. We never submitted it, right? We're going to do it with this guy instead. Then all it was just hot air that was reported that never really happened. So the only thing people need to know is this. A, the Eagles are going to be compliant with the cap because they have to. There's no choice. So it's really not a genius thing. When the Eagles are compliant every year, you have to be. And two, what we know is, and we'll get into this a little bit coming up, is that they've got to be enough under to make some kind of moves in free agency, because they can't just suit up and play a game tomorrow with the type of roster that they have right now. I mean, you have one quarterback who's under contract this coming year. So if he were to get hurt, what would you do? So they're going to have to make some moves. Now, here's the weird thing. Well, we'll get into it. No, let's because we can move on from the contracts, right? I mean, you've got no more restructure news, correct?
Yeah, that's it. I'm done. I'm burnt out on this stuff.
What do you know about Derek Barnett? Because I know, trust me, man.
All right. Here we go. I'm glad you asked about him, because he's on my list of rumors, and this is a different free agency for the Eagles, and barring something unforeseen, so there's not a lot of juice because of their cap situation. But Geoff and I have been talking about this Barnett contract for a year, and we said, look, a year ago, that this actually was last March. We said they're going to have to do some of this contract. At least we're using logic. No one told us that, but we're just using logic. But I did say a couple weeks ago, there's the outside chance they won't do anything with this contract. Because remember, using Nelson Aguilar, that surprised us. 19, that they let him play. I know he was available. They're actually trying to move him. Nobody wanted him.
Right.
So they let him play it out at just over $9 million. That I got that wrong. I did not think they would do that. I thought for sure. I know it's a fifth-year option. I thought they'd cut that number or cut him, but they didn't do that. And as I understand it, they feel so strong that they're going to be able to get under the cap that they can handle this just over $10 million. I'm told, that's what I'm told, that they're okay if I'm not saying they're not going to trade him, by the way, or not extend him eventually, but they're okay if he has to play on a 10.05 million, at 10.051 million. That's his base salary, which becomes fully guaranteed on Wednesday.
So doesn't that tell you that they feel the same way about Derek Barnett that they did about Aguilar? It's kind of, I
don't know.
They'll pay the higher price to be willing to see if he can put it all together in this fifth season. And if he does, then maybe in the middle of the year they can give him an extension. If he's not, maybe he walks and you get a better a potential comp pick out of it.
Well, hang on. We reported on the show that teams called the Eagles at the trade deadline and they said, no, we're not trading him.
Well, remember, they were trying to win a Super Bowl, though. They were not trying to get rid of players.
This past year.
They were trying. Oh, yeah, you're right.
At the trade deadline. And my thinking then was, man, this is a great opportunity to trade him. You guys aren't very good. That I don't remember what the record was at the trade deadline, but maybe at that point they felt they could turn the season around. Okay, fine. But if you could get like a 3 for him at the trade deadline, I would have done it personally. I would have moved him, but that's their decision not to do it. Maybe they shut him down. The teams that called, they said he's just not available.
Well, yeah, and I do wonder. Do you think they would have even offered a 3 for him? I don't know if you.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just giving an example.
Right.
Like if you and I if we were managing this team, and I know what Derek Barnett is as a player. He's a little bit above average. He's nothing special. He clearly has not been as good as his first round pedigree would indicate it should be, for whatever reason. We could go over we know the injuries. He's not the great athlete that the tape showed at Tennessee. He's just not as good as the tape would have showed. But he goes through these spurts where he looks really good. He's bendy and all that. He's an okay player. To me, if we had to go back and where would you draft him? I would say people love asking these questions. I kind of laugh when they ask them, but I think this is an interesting one. I think he's a second-round pick. If we could go back now, based on what we've seen, I think his production would be equivalent to a second-round pick. I think that's what he is.
That's fair. Yeah, he's still one of the people. I mean, look, that was not a very strong year for first-round pass rushers. Charles Harris, Tack McKinley. There's another one in there. I'd have to go back and look. It wasn't. It really was. I mean, maybe there was somebody who went above Barnett who's really good. I'm sure there was, but I'm saying from where they got him at 14, I think, on. It just wasn't a great pass rusher draft. So I see it this way. 10 million is a little high, but if they can afford it, they can afford it, right? I mean, they're
I mean,
but wouldn't you see? Here's what I don't get. Well, I don't know exactly how far under the cap, but I mean, you're maybe passing up on opportunity to create more money to get somebody to kind of a younger type of free agent to kind of build with to pay this guy $10 million in 1 year. That seems a little weird.
Great question. I don't know. I don't know how much under the cap they're going to be because remember they also have to sign their rookies.
Yeah. And they got some extensions you'd think they'd want to take.
Yeah. We've talked about Josh Sweat, potentially extending his contract.
Right.
I don't know. I'm a little bit puzzled why they would. I just no way I would let him play at 10 million. No. He's just not. He's not a 10 million player per season. He's not APY is not 10 million a year. He hasn't shown enough. I like your point you said a couple minutes ago. Okay, you want to let him play this out? Prove it to me. I wouldn't extend him.
Right.
Now, I mean, let's put it this way. I'm not paying him 10 million. I'm not giving him like 3 years at 33 million, 30. I don't know what the comps are on him.
Mm-hmm.
He just has not been consistent enough. I see flashes. I see sometimes where we go, okay, that's a first round pick. Then he goes 3 games where we go, okay, where did he go? That's kind of
if I wanted to extend him, and I'm talking out of my ass here, right? I've never obviously done a contract.
Not literally.
Yeah. Well, sometimes some might say I am. But if he's going to make 10 million this year for being on a team and you want him on a team, you could give him the quote unquote 3-year, 33 million. But what you're really giving him is just 10 million guaranteed, and then taking that and spreading it out over the course of 3 years. And you expect that he's definitely on team year 1, might be on the team year 2. So whatever his base salary
1 year,
is,
right,
might be worth it. But
right, 1 year signing bonus, 1 year fully guaranteed, and be able to get out of it for year 1.
Exactly.
Or partial full guarantee in year 2 and be able to get out if it's not too bad. Cut him if he doesn't do the job in year 1. Yeah, I would do that, but I don't until he shows me he could be way more consistent. I want 8 good games from him instead of 3 or 4 a season.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want. That's what I want from this guy. This guy was a first round pick. That's what first round picks do.
Right.
By the end of your first contract, for me to extend you, I want to see consistent play where I go, that was a first round pick. He deserves that contract. I don't know. He's right here. I think
when he's healthy and he's on the field, he plays to like what you're saying, a high second round. Maybe there are some games where he looks like a first rounder. So you just wish he would play 16 games and not have any bumps and bruises and not come to training camp a little underweight as you reported that he did. Like just have a good year, man. Like a good solid year. Give me I'm not even saying give me 15 sacks. Give me, 9 to 11. Play good run defense, which I thought he got better at last year. I'll always remember that San Francisco game where he edged the crap out of that left tackle. Who's their great left tackle?
Trent
Williams to stop Mostert behind the line of scrimmage. No, it was somebody else behind the line of scrimmage. He's shown ability. He just has to show durability and consistent, repetitive ability. And
hopefully the one thing before we move on to the next player or next issue, that's the thing with this guy. He's got to understand the offseason. You can't show up. A bunch of reporters. I was at training camp with you. No, wait. Were you there the day? Wait. Oh, I was at the practice of the link, right? And I called. I think that was the day that Rager got hurt, right?
Yes, you were there.
But a bunch of reporters said to me, "Man, does he look smaller?" And again, he's wearing you can't really tell, but maybe they had the binoculars on. And a couple guys came up to me and said, "Do you know how much he weighs?" I'm like, "I know he's definitely not his 250, whatever the heck his real weight is."
Mm-hmm. And
they all noticed it. And I'm like, how do you? I mean, it's one thing not to come in overweight, but you can't come really super underweight.
Right.
Like he needs to know that as keep your weight up, man.
I agree.
Anyway,
I have no idea. This offseason of no OTA screwed a lot of people up, so I don't know.
Sure, that's fair. That's fair. I just thought it was a little bit noteworthy. He's a talented guy, but he's got to be better.
Absolutely. All right. So before we get into some other guys, I want to remind everybody that March's biggest tournament is finally here, and we don't know who will be cutting down the nets at the end, but we do know there will be no shortage of madness. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting new customers in the center of the action. If you bet $4 on any underdog, you can win $256 if they win. It's just that simple. Turn $4 into $256. It's 64-1 odds. Every dollar you bet could turn into $64. Amazing. All right. Pick one of the many selected college basketball underdogs for your shot at winning $256. And all it takes is a $4 bet. So there's no better way to put your college basketball knowledge to the test than to put your money where your mouth is with DraftKings Sportsbook. Don't worry if college basketball isn't for you. DraftKings Sportsbook offers great odds and promotions on golf, hockey, and so much more. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code ITB when you sign up to turn $4 into $256 if the underdog of your choosing pulls off the upset. So that's code ITB to turn $4 into $256 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Adam, I got to tell you, man, I used to love the NCAA tournament. I'm sure I'll get into it, but a piece of me died when the Big East broke up. Like, I mean, for the first time, like
original, right.
BC left and Pitt left,
back, but it's not the same.
It's just not the same. And I'm a UConn fan, so I mean, I'm glad they're back in the Big East, and they had a heck of a game against Georgetown there. It's cool to see like Patrick. Like, I look for anything that can cling me to the days of loving the Big East. So very cool to see Patrick Ewing. And he's now won it. He's won that conference as a player. He's won a national title as a player. Yeah. And the Knicks fans are like, how did you win all these championships as a coach and a player, but you couldn't beat the Rockets in '94? I'm sure.
Oh God, yeah, Mark.
Or you never beat the Jordan Bulls, but Hey.
Oh, by the way, the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Yeah, I use it for blackjack. By the way.
Oh, you're going down the rabbit hole, my brother.
It's addictive, man. I got to tell you, when I can't sleep, it is actually great because I'll stay up another hour and a half. It's so addictive. It's the great thing. It's such a good app. It doesn't crash. It's really good. I've been meaning to say this. I'm meaning to tell everyone this. It is a great app. I got to tell you, they do a really good job with it.
Yes, and now I know why they're so profitable. If you're unable to sleep and playing blackjack at 2 a.m, I see why they're doing a good job.
I'm a blackjack player, man. I have been. My late cousin was one of the top blackjack players in the world, so he taught me. My cousin Chuck Gorson, he got actually banned from Vegas. He was banned from the books.
The more I'm around you, the more I realize how many awesome stories. With your involvement in AE, the old. What was it? What wrestling were you in?
WCW, yeah.
WCW. Personally Eric Bischoff and worked for him. And
actually, I don't know him. No, I don't know him. But his podcast is how I found out why I never worked there again. Because what happened was, this will take 20 seconds, folks who don't like wrestling. Bischoff came in '94. Bill Watts is running it. And they stopped having house shows in Philly. I'm like, yeah, this sucks. And I didn't know why until I listened to it. It's called 83 Weeks with Conrad Thompson. Conrad Thompson is Ric Flair's son-in-law. And they have a great, the 83 Weeks podcast is just a reminiscence. It's also on YouTube too. I actually watch it on YouTube, but I don't listen to the pod version. They just go over the 90s wrestling. It's mostly 90s wrestling and when Ertz ran it and when he didn't run it, and all the stories they have are just phenomenal. I love all-time wrestling. I haven't watched wrestling since like 99, 2000. But I loved it, and I never could figure out why I didn't come back. I didn't do anything wrong. I was being paid $50. What the hell was I? I wasn't doing anything. As a kid, it was like I was like the envy of my friends, like this wrestling stuff, and it's pretty cool. But anyway, now I know why, because I heard on the podcast.
When I was in college, some people, after a few drinks would come up to me and be like, you look a little bit like The Rock. And I'm like, you definitely had a few drinks, but I can make the eyebrow raise a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You doing it? Yeah. Fantastic, man.
So I enjoyed being somewhat resemblant of The Rock. So
And
that
his
was
dad, the
good.
late Rocky Johnson, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I watched, he was a good guy, his dad, with Tony Atlas. Again, you have to be over 50 to know who these guys are, but
I remember Mr. USA Tony Atlas.
you got it. Good call by you, man.
I was a wrestling fan back in the day.
I got one of these days, folks. I'm going to tell you my Terry Funk story. It'll blow your mind. And Big Van Vader when he, or Abdullah Butcher when he chased me with his pitchfork, and they didn't tell me that I was in on the joke, and they didn't tell me, and I thought I was going to get killed.
I never heard this. That's so funny.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, I was such an idiot. I didn't know any, I knew wrestling was fake, but I didn't really know, like, aren't they supposed to tell you that if that you're in on the, like, they tell you as a kid, hey, he's in on it, so don't, they didn't tell me, and I almost got killed anyway.
Wait, were you in the ring?
No, it was it was before the what do you call it? What was the thing called? ECW. It was before ECW. There was an organization called Tri-State Wrestle Alliance, and my friend and I, Ike Richmond, used to run, who I went to high school with. Ike used to run a PR for Ike, Comcast, Spectacor.
Yeah, I know the name. I don't know if I ever met him, but yeah.
So he was the one who got me into the wrestling to work all these events, and never forget it. They didn't tell. Long story short, people don't want to hear about this, but Geoff's
yeah, I think they do.
But let me tell you the Abdullah the Butcher story. So Abdullah the Butcher he's now 80. His real name is, I'm big on the real names. His real name is Larry Shreve.
That's even better.
Ike and I love the real names. Like how I love the scrub names.
Yeah.
Eric Zomalt is one for, you weren't covering the Eagles then, but I love the scrub, like Norman Lejeune for those of you over 40.
There you go.
But anyway, Abdullah Butcher, then we're going to move on. I'm sorry, folks. I just have to tell you this story real quick.
Yeah,
I was working for this Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. My job was to pick up wrestlers at the airport, right? So I got to know Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, through that.
Of course.
And,
yeah.
Unfortunately, some guys who passed away. But long story short, to move this along, so I'm ringing the bell. Okay. So they don't tell you, because I'm not part of wrestling. I'm just this hired hand, that Abdullah the Butcher is going to chase everybody around with his pitchfork. They don't tell me this. So I'm standing there and I'm seeing this guy come at me, and I'm like, I'm freaking the fuck out. Excuse my language. I'm like, what the fuck? So I start running. The back, and they're laughing at me. Well, no one told me. I don't know anything. I'm a fucking kid. I was then like 25 years old. I know it's fake, but can they at least tell me?
I don't think I can finish this podcast.
I've had
the
some
mental imagery is fantastic.
I almost got killed by a fake wrestling, but anyway.
So Zach Ertz.
Yeah, all right, let's get to Zach. It's funny.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah,
the whole mental image right now is just unbelievable.
Of me running, dude. I was running for my life because they didn't tell me.
Getting chased by a pitchfork.
He's like this. And he's so fat, he had to be 400 pounds. He
was enormous. I remember Abdullah the Butcher.
I called him Flabdullah. His nickname is Abby, but he looked like Flabdullah. But anyway, I thought you guys would enjoy it. You guys are going to kill me on the, I know, I'm going to get killed for talking about this shit. Who cares? If I can make Mosher laugh. Anyway, Zach Ertz. So
Zach Ertz, yeah.
Let me touch on the Zach Ertz stuff. I know you've been waiting for this, folks, because people keep asking me, these Bills fans keep asking about Zach Ertz. Look, here's the deal with Zach Ertz. The reason why the Eagles won't cut him is because he has a market. If they didn't, I would say this: if they didn't think that there was interest, they would have cut him, because they could just save the cap space now instead of having to wait till Wednesday and trading him, or trying to trade him. But there is a market, but I don't think they're getting what they want.
I had heard that they wanted a third. So, I mean, that's what I heard about a week.
Okay, you're right. I heard the same thing. I'm going to say Sunday I heard pretty reliably what you had heard. Now, I don't know if they're going to get that, but the general manager, Harry Roseman's got to make a decision at some point. Are you willing to take a fourth or a fifth, or fifth that becomes a fourth, something like that, if that's what's out there? I understand there's no deadline here because there's no guaranteed money in his contract. There's no roster bonus due where they have to make a decision. I get all that. but he's been a great Eagle. I know they don't owe him anything, but at some point, you got a blanker, get off the pot. If you get a four, you've gone through every team that needs a tight end. And by the way, it's an historically bad tight end class, Geoff, as I know you know. If you look at other than Pitts, it's one of the worst classes ever for tight end. Now, on paper for the draft, you never know who's going to become a good player. But talking to coaches who've graded players for this draft, it's not very good on paper. So you would think, and I know Ertz turns 31 this fall and he's coming off a ankle surgery, but he's a reliable pass target. He knows how to get open. The guy's got value here. So
yeah. So I think this is what I would weigh if I were Howie, right? If you get a fourth, that's cool because you don't have a fourth this year, right?
Oh, that's a good. Oh, you're
you
right.
Traded
for Javon Avery, right?
But you do have 2/3 from the Ertz trade. So what I would maybe try to do,
you mean the Wentz trade? Yeah.
Yeah, the Wentz trade. What I might be willing to do, if the highest I was going to get was a fourth this year, would be to see if someone's willing to give me a conditional pick next year, like a fourth that could become a second, or well, not a second. No, never get that, but a fourth that can become a third, and say I'd rather have that because next year's draft, I'm potentially getting an extra first round pick from the Wentz trade.
Oh, yeah, right.
So
right.
I mean, I'm using that. I already got 10 picks this draft, so why don't I try to? We know how important not just this year, but next draft will be also for the same reason of the older players who are on the book. So I might be willing to push it to next year if I can get the conditional.
I agree 100%. You and I are aligned on this. I would not, if I could do a 4 that become a 3 next year, I'm doing it. I'll do it for 2022. It's a great point you made, because it would be nice to get a straight 4 for this year, but if I could do a 4 for 22 that become a 3, if Zach plays 14 games or has at least whatever the number you want to call 50 catches or whatever it is. I would like to have a 3 that you get that extra one for Wentz potentially next year and potential with 3. I would do that.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. I wonder what teams would be in. I mean, there are a lot of teams that like that, like the Seahawks are always getting veteran tight ends.
They need a tight end. A tight end. The Chargers, depending on what Hunter Henry does, needs a tight end. Okay. Because remember they didn't put the tag on him, and apparently he is not ruled out going better. But the Chargers, as you know, Geoff, they've made a lot. They've cut some players. Now Casey Hayward, I understand, is older, but he's a good football player. They've walked away from some players, but if you look at the teams that need tight ends, you mentioned the Seahawks. You're 100% right. Greg Olsen retired. They need a reliable pass target. The Chargers, depending on what Hunter Henry does. Houston, they got a bunch of tight ends, but they haven't developed anyone. Someone asked me about that. They have too many tight ends. The Colts. I know they didn't do a package deal, but why not?
How about the Patriots?
Yes.
I mean,
the Eagles have done a lot of business. Look, they had the 3 kids. None of them did anything. Why don't you get a reliable veteran to show them the ropes, like Selleck did for Ertz? Bill, come on, Bill. You need pass targets. You got none. Come on.
Right. You brought the Chargers, right? Because you always look for connections too. If Hunter Henry, their QB's coach is Pep Hamilton, is it not?
Yes, it is. No, he moved on. No, he moved on.
Oh, okay. I thought because he was at Stanford when Ertz was there.
With the.
I thought.
I'm sorry.
Pep Hamilton was at Stanford when Ertz was there under David Shaw.
Right, but he's not with the Chargers anymore. No, he moved on.
Where is he with Houston?
No, I will find out. I saw it the other day. I think he might be with the Jets, but let me just double check.
The Jets are a team that could use a tight end.
Chris Herndon.
You can still.
He's with the Texans. Pep Hamilton's with the Texans.
He is with the Texans. So you look at that, and there's potentially a.
They got a lot of tight ends, but none of them done anything.
Right. So all right, we'll see.
The Bengals,
we'll see on that.
The Bengals need a pass catching tight end.
The Bengals could use a bit. Now, I don't know how happy Zach would be to go there, although they do have some nice offense. You get the quarterback coming back from the injury, but. Yeah, there's a lot of teams that want a tight end. So I would agree that there should be a good enough market to get some decent value here. All right, let's finish this off. Well, I think you and I kind of expect the Eagles have to make some kind of minor roster stocking moves at corner, maybe at safety. We'll see. I don't know if it's going to be on the first or second day of of free agency. But quarterback, we always talk about, like, you got one quarterback under contract. You're going to need a veteran quarterback. So is there a quarterback that's, comes to mind that you think, bam, that makes a lot of sense?
Yes. Okay. So the one position I've confirmed, the guy that they're definitely going to be in on now, it's complicated, and I'll explain why. They have interest, I'm told, by multiple sources on Jacoby Brissett. Not surprising, obviously, the connection with the Colts coaches, but he doesn't have an agent. He hasn't used an agent in years. He actually did his 2-year extension. He did a pretty good job on it, by the way. Now, what I understand is Bill Parcells is his advisor, a legendary Hall of Fame coach. So I don't know. I think Monday afternoon they could talk to him because he's his own agent, technically.
Right.
But
so how does that? So he can't. Oh yeah. So he can on Monday. So it's not tampering because he's his own agent.
Correct. Right. Monday at 12 Eastern, 12 p.m. Eastern.
How ridiculous is that?
I know it's just crazy. Yeah, it is. It's another layer to the stuff because
Hold on. Let me run this by my client.
Right. Self. Okay.
Yes.
He did a great job. He did a great job on that 2-year extension he got with the Colts.
He did.
Phenomenal job. I was like $25 million over 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
So I've heard him. So far, no on Flacco. I know things could change. We're early in free agency here. Whereas Flacco was their guy early on. He needed to have surgery. My understanding is that the Jets are interested in bringing him back, but right now it's Brissett is the only name that I see. Someone asked me about Andy Dalton. I know the Eagles in the past like him, but he's going to be a starter. So he's going to compete for a starting job. So he's not coming here. It's not that they don't like him; they do, but it's just not going to fly. Tyrod Taylor. I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying they wouldn't have interest in him. I mean, Steichen coached him, but see, with Tyrod Taylor, here's the question. Is he willing, because based on our friend Chris Mortensen's report, is he willing to be a backup?
Well, don't you think when he signed with the Chargers last year, he knew they were going to be drafting a top 5 quarterback or a top 10 quarterback, I should say? I mean, he probably signed knowing that they were going to draft a quarterback who was going to, have to beat him out, but probably eventually would. I mean, of course didn't know that the injury would happen that way, especially. But I'm just saying, like, no matter where he goes, he's always going to go to a team that's looking to get younger and better at quarterback. So he's always going to face the idea that he's competing for the job.
Well, here's the question off that. Is he a guy that is willing to see Tyrod Taylor's got to ask himself this. There are situations in Chicago, Denver. If these teams like him, he should go there because he could compete for the starting job. Though I don't believe Chicago's interested in him. I think it's going to be more. Could be Dalton. Could be Ryan Fitzpatrick. Somebody like that.
It should be Alex Smith if they're smart.
Right. Although I don't think they're on him. But I just feel like a team like for Tyrod's got to come to the point where he's got to say, you know what? I'm a backup quarterback at this point in my career, and I'm going to accept it. I don't know if he's there yet because look, had he not had that unfortunate injury, then the botched shot, he might have still started more games, and we may not have seen Herbert till midseason. But as you know, what happened. Herbert was unbelievable when he got in there.
Right.
So we'll see.
I think he makes more sense as a potential backup than, say, like a Flacco or somebody else, because if you are going forward with Jalen Hurts and you want to build an offense around a quarterback who can hurt you with the arms and the legs, then it would be good to have your backup be able to run the same offense if he has to come in because the starter got hurt, right? You don't have to change it all around. So I can see that making sense. And then
Steichen obviously coached with Brissett, you've got Patullo, who knows him obviously, and Sirianni does. So that's really helpful. But here's the thing is, like, as we look at this, I have no idea what these guys are willing to accept in money. I just don't, I don't know. And from the Eagles standpoint, they can't talk to them yet. So they're not going to know if they're going to be in his ballpark or not, because we don't know where Brissett is. Does he want to go back to New England? Okay. I mean, we know that Cam's there, but does he want to go compete against Cam? We don't know. Because we don't know what New England's trying to do with it. that shocked me that they brought.
That was surprising.
That was a shocker. So we don't know. This quarterback carousel is fascinating, and they're going to. By the way, there'll be some trades. Who knows? Who knows if Jimmy Garoppolo? I understand most likely will stay with the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of rumors around the National Football League with personnel people that even though the Patriots re-signed Cam because the contract's really is backup, real money's backup money. There's a rumor that the Patriots might trade for Garoppolo. So we'll see. Who knows?
Wouldn't that be full circle?
I would be surprised, but smart personnel people, a couple guys mentioned to me, like, all right, I'll keep an eye on it.
All right. Well, it's going to be an exciting week. I look forward to it. We got our Tuesday night live stream at 8 p.m. on our YouTube and other platforms. Just make sure you're following us on Twitter. We'll have the link sent out. And then Q&A will drop Wednesday, 6 a.m. And then you and I will be back with our next podcast Thursday at 6 a.m. And we'll be getting even deeper into free agency and perhaps some more wrestling.
Yeah, we will have more names for you Tuesday night. Whatever breaks, I'm sure some stuff will get out. The Eagles, I don't see them sitting out totally week one. I'm sure they'll do a couple things. We'll break it down in the live stream for sure. And I'll be up. There are two names I'm sitting on. I can't put them out because I haven't got it confirmed. I don't do that stuff. If I get it confirmed, in terms of if the Eagles are really actually interested in the guys, you hear stuff from other teams, and sometimes it ends up being not true.
Right.
So I'm just not going to throw that shit out there. I want to get it confirmed, but we'll have it for Tuesday. If it's not out, we'll put it out. We'll get it confirmed, and we'll go from there.
All right, cool. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. I want to say thanks to our friend Abdullah the Butcher for providing us some
Larry Shreve.
Some great, Larry Shreve, anecdotal humor tonight. Also to our friend Hunter Brody. Check out his work on his YouTube channel, Sports Talk with Broads. Check him out on Twitter at Broads81. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.